In this video, we'll be taking a look at 3 NBA games happening on January 31st, 2026, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games, so 6 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these 3 NBA games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start, if you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. Chicago Bulls versus Miami Heat. The Chicago Bulls and Miami Heat meet again on Saturday at Kaseya Center, with Chicago walking in a bit battered and a bit annoyed after recent results. The Bulls just took losses to the Heat and Pacers, slipping back under the break-even mark, even though they have still taken 14 of their last 25 games, which tells you they have not completely fallen apart yet. Chicago's issue is less about effort and more about bodies right now. Trey Jones and Nikola Vucevic have already been ruled out, and Jalen Smith, Emmanuel Miller, Kobe White, and Josh Giddey are all sitting in that uncomfortable maybe not zone on the injury report. Miami has its own problems, ruling out Norman Powell, Davion Mitchell, and Tyler Herro again, so neither side is anywhere close to full strength. The difference is that the Heat still feel a bit deeper, with more guys who can slide up a roll when someone is missing, while the Bulls may need someone like Buzelis to suddenly explode just to keep them level. Miami just went into Chicago and beat the Bulls on their floor a couple of days ago, and now they get to run it back at home. The Bulls have stacked up road losses this season, and when almost the entire rotation is listed somewhere on the injury sheet, it becomes really hard to feel secure about what version of this team actually shows up. If they are as undermanned as it looks, this could tilt into one of those nights where the gap in talent and depth becomes very obvious pretty early. There is also some pressure building around Chicago's place in the standings. They are stuck around the 10th seed in the East, and although they are hanging on, Charlotte is only 2.5 games back and riding a 5-game winning streak, so the margin for error is shrinking. That makes every game feel important, but it does not magically heal ankles and knees. Now, Giddey could miss again after sitting out Thursday's meeting with Miami, and in that game the Bulls managed to shoot only 39% from the field and from beyond the arc, which is a rough way to live against a disciplined defense. They are now down 2-0 in the regular season series, heading into this one as underdogs once more. On the Heat side, Norman Powell led them in Thursday's win with 21 points, while Bam Adebayo added 20 points and 12 rebounds, giving Miami a steady interior anchor. Powell is listed as doubtful due to a personal matter, and not having the player who just paced them in scoring is no small thing. When Powell sits, Miami holds just a 2-4 straight-up record in 6 games this season, and their offensive rating dips by almost 3 points per 100 possessions, so his absence really does move the quality of their attack. Even so, they have taken 5 of 7 games against Central Division opponents, which shows they can still grind out results against this type of matchup. Against the Bulls specifically at home, they are only 2-5 against the spread in 7 games, so it is not exactly a historical automatic cover, and that at least gives you a reason to pause before going all in on them. Still, when you put everything on the table, the Bulls' heavy injury concerns, their poor shooting in the last meeting, the recent road struggles, and Miami's home edge combined with Adebayo and Jaquez Jr. capable of carrying the load, the balance of probabilities leans toward the Heat having enough to handle the number here. As our first pick for this matchup, the Miami Heat to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. With so many key players out or banged up on both sides, it is not surprising that expectations for total scoring in this game are fairly modest. 3 straight defeats have dragged the Bulls below the break-even line again, and the offense has sputtered, which was obvious in Thursday's meeting when they shot just 39% from the field and the same from 3. On paper, that sort of shooting profile screams lower scoring. Here's the thing, though, both of these teams actually like to play fast this season. Miami sits at the top of the league with 105.7 possessions per game, which is a serious tempo for a group missing some stars. The Bulls are not far behind, just outside the top 10 with 102.6 possessions per game, so we are not talking about a slow, grinded-out clash here. That many trips up and down the floor usually nudges totals higher simply through volume, even when the offenses are not perfectly polished. Heat games in particular have been leaning toward higher scoring, with the overhitting in 6 of their last 8 contests. That kind of recent pattern is not everything, but it does tell you that their pace and shot profile are pushing games above what is expected more often than not. You can argue, honestly and fairly, that missing creators like Powell, Harrow, Giddey, and Vucevic might drag efficiency down again, and that risk is real. But when those players are out, you often see younger legs and role players soaking up extra minutes, and that can mean more running, quicker shots, and less cautious half-court offense. Instead of long, methodical possessions, you get early clock threes, quick drives, and a bit of chaos. And chaos is usually friendly to higher totals. Coaches still lean on the same systems, the same spacing, and similar shot types, so even if the names on the jerseys change, the aggression in hunting shots often stays in place. So while the shooting percentages may not be pretty for stretches, the mix of high pace, plenty of possessions, and a decent number of free throw opportunities should give this matchup a good chance to land above what is being projected on the scoreboard. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Minnesota Timberwolves versus Memphis Grizzlies. The Minnesota Timberwolves and Memphis Grizzlies face off on Saturday in NBA action at FedEx Forum. The Timberwolves walk in off wins over the Thunder and the Mavs, even though they have dropped 5 of their last 8 games, which creates that funny mix of momentum and recent slippage at the same time. The Grizzlies, on the other hand, are coming off losses to the Pelicans and the Hornets, and they have fallen in 11 of their last 15, so confidence is not exactly overflowing on their side right now. Minnesota is still without Terrence Shannon Jr., so they are not completely whole either. Memphis has ruled out Ty Jerome, Santi Aldama, Ja Morant, and Zach Edey, which is a long list for a group that already leans heavily on its main guys when healthy. When a team is missing that many pieces, rotations get stretched, and role players are suddenly tasked with doing a little bit of everything, which can work for a night but is hard to sustain. The Timberwolves have started to warm up again, and that blowout win over the Thunder on Thursday gives them a real jolt of belief heading into this spot. Routing a quality opponent like that tends to stick in the back of players' minds, and it often carries over, at least early in the next game. In contrast, the Grizzlies have cooled off again. They are still without most of what would be their usual starting group, and this is now the second game of a back-to-back for them, which rarely helps tired legs or late-game execution. Back-to-back situations can be manageable, sure, but when your main options are already out, that extra fatigue usually shows up faster, especially on defense and on the glass. The Timberwolves were always going to be the favorites in this matchup. That much feels obvious when you lay out who is available and who is not, but the current number feels a bit shorter than expected for this type of gap in form and health. Putting it all together, recent performance, injuries, and the rest factor, the setup leans toward Minnesota having the clearer path to covering here, even if nothing is guaranteed in a league where odd swings happen all the time. As our first pick for this matchup, the Minnesota Timberwolves to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. The Minnesota Timberwolves are averaging 119 points on 48.1% shooting from the field while allowing 114.1 points on 45.9% shooting, so they can fill it up, but they also give some of it back. They hit 37.4% of their shots from beyond the arc, which is strong, yet they connect on only 74.8% at the free throw line, and that kind of inconsistency at the stripe can quietly shave a few points off a final score. They allow opponents to shoot 35.2% from deep and they grab 45 rebounds per game, which suggests they can contest the perimeter reasonably well and finish defensive possessions often enough. The Memphis Grizzlies are averaging 114.6 points on 45.4% shooting and allowing 116.3 points on 46.3%, so their games tilt slightly higher, but not wildly so. They shoot 34.6% from three-point range and 80.2% from the free throw line, which is a solid mark at the stripe, even if the three-point clip is more average than scary. On the other side, they are giving up 35.6% from deep and pulling down 46 rebounds per game, right around Minnesota's number on the boards. When both teams rebound at a similar rate like that, you do not get as many wild second and third chance scoring bursts, which often keeps totals more contained. So what does all of that mean for how many points we should reasonably expect? You have one team with a strong field goal percentage but uneven free throw shooting, and another with decent scoring numbers that still allows slightly more than it scores, all wrapped up in a game where injuries will likely push more role players into bigger minutes. Those extra minutes for secondary guys often bring effort but not always elite efficiency, which can slow the actual scoring even if the pace feels active. With both defenses at least competent on the perimeter and the rebounding battle fairly balanced, it sets up as a contest where points may come, but not in a way that constantly pushes the scoreboard to extremes. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Dallas Mavericks versus Houston Rockets. The Dallas Mavericks and Houston Rockets meet Saturday in NBA action at Toyota Center, with both teams heading in very different directions lately. The Mavericks just lost to the Hornets and Timberwolves, and they have the Celtics on deck, so this is a rough stretch in their schedule for a team already trying to snap a 3-game skid. The Rockets beat the Hawks, then took a loss to the Spurs, and they see the Pacers next. But even with that small bump, they have still won 7 of their last 10, which says plenty about where their form is right now. The injury report keeps shaping how these games look. Dallas is still missing Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving, and Derek Lively II, which strips away a lot of star power and rim presence for a group that already leans heavily on a few key playmakers. Houston is still without Fred VanVleet and Steven Adams, so their playmaking and interior depth take a hit as well, even if their overall rotation feels a bit more stable at the moment. The Mavericks have gone cold again, and they will be frustrated that even a career-high 49 points and 10 rebounds from Cooper Flagg against Charlotte on Thursday could not drag them over the line. That type of performance from a rookie usually lights a small fire under a locker room, though, because it shows they still have a reliable offensive engine even when the roster is banged up. Saturday brings a familiar opponent, since these teams have already seen each other 3 times this season, and 2 of those meetings were decided by single digits, which tells you how tight this matchup can get. Dallas did win one of those games back in early December, and that result alone will quietly give them some belief heading into this trip to Houston. On the other side, the Rockets have built their season on defense, which is what has kept them in the top 4 in the Western Conference for most of the year. We saw the full version of that identity in their last outing, holding the Hawks to just 86 points in a blowout road win, and wins like that are the kind that make a team feel like its system really works. Coming back home is a big boost as well, because KD and company have been one of the most consistent home groups in the league, with only 4 losses in 20 games on their own floor so far. From a betting lens, though, they have been tricky, covering the spread only 4 times in 15 games, which has turned them into a bit of a headache whenever they are laying a bigger number. The loss of Steven Adams looms large too, since he was their second leading rebounder behind Sengun, and it will be interesting to see how they adjust their rotation and schemes without his physical presence inside. This Dallas defense has not inspired much confidence lately, but somehow the Mavericks keep managing to stay in games, even when it feels like they should be blown out on paper. The last time these two met, the game was decided by just 8 points, which fits the pattern of this series being tighter than you might expect, even when Houston appears to have the advantage in depth and health. Cooper Flagg just showed he can pile up points against anyone, and there is every reason to think he can put in another strong outing against a Rockets defense that, while very good, still has to account for a lot of missing pieces and shifting responsibilities. I get it, the Rockets are the more talented team at the moment, they are at home, and they are the healthier side overall. Still, they have underachieved in stretches this season and sit at 22-24 against the spread, which is a reminder that they do not always match their on-court quality with clean covers. The Mavericks have also taken the last 2 meetings against the Rockets, including a win earlier this month when they were catching a big number as an 8-point underdog. Since December 21st, Houston is only 1-6 against the spread as a double-digit favorite, which really highlights how often they let opponents hang around late in games. So while the matchup points toward Houston getting the win, the size of this number feels too hefty, and that opens the door for Dallas to sneak in the back door if they can stay close enough and keep scoring late. As our first pick for this matchup, the Dallas Mavericks to cover the spread as underdogs is our full-game side pick. The Dallas Mavericks are averaging 114.3 points on 47.2% shooting and allowing 116.7 points on 46.3% shooting, which shows you they can score but also give a fair amount back on the other end. They are hitting 34.2% from beyond the arc and 74.8% from the free throw line, so their 3-point shooting is decent, even if their work at the stripe leaves a few points behind. On defense, the Mavericks are allowing 3.5% shooting from deep and grabbing 45.1 rebounds per game, so they are at least holding their own on the glass, even when the perimeter results look odd on paper. The Houston Rockets are averaging 116.3 points on 47.5% shooting and allowing 110.5 points on 46% shooting, which puts them in that sweet spot where they outscore opponents by a solid margin when the defense is locked in. And they are connecting on 37% of their three-point attempts and 75.3% from the free throw line, which adds up to a steady, reliable offense that can punish mistakes and missed rotations. Defensively, they are allowing 34.4% shooting from deep and grabbing 50.2 rebounds per game, and that rebounding edge, in particular, creates extra possessions and second chance points that can nudge totals higher. This Dallas defense has not exactly scared anyone lately, but their offense has kept them in contests, and that balance tends to lean toward higher scoring games rather than slow, grinding battles. The last time these two teams met, they combined for only 212 points, which might suggest a lower scoring script at first glance, but that single result sits alongside stats that point toward more open looks and more shot attempts overall. After watching Cooper Flagg pour in 49 points against the Hornets, it is reasonable to expect another strong showing from him against Houston, even if he does not quite hit that same number again. A confident primary scorer on one side and a deep, efficient offense on the other, backed by strong rebounding, usually turns into a game where both teams find ways to keep the scoreboard moving. Here is the thing, even with injuries on both rosters, the styles have not really shifted away from attacking on offense and playing at a steady tempo, and that kind of rhythm usually favors a higher total rather than a low one. So when you put together the scoring averages, the efficiency numbers, the rebounding edge for Houston, and the current form of key players like Flagg, the setup leans toward a matchup where points show up often enough to clear what is being projected. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed, subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.